Coming to you live from the house on the hill. This night, this reading goes out to the one and only Little Peach. I hope you're snuggled up somewhere, cozy, warm, surrounded by and filled with love. Now, this is A Wizard of Earthsea. Chapter 4, For the Love of God, Part 6. The last two sentences. He knew once more, at last, after this long, bitter, wasted time, who he was and where he was. But where he must go in the years to come, that he could not see, and he feared to see it. Next morning he set out across the island, the Otok riding on his shoulder. Ooh, whoops. I actually reread a little bit. Let's skip forwards, yada yada yada. Karam Kermarick talked to him, said read that book. Okay, here we go. At winter's end he returned to the great house. He was made sorcerer then, and the archmage Genser accepted at that time his fealty. Thenceforth he studied the high arts and enchantments, passing beyond arts of illusion to works of real magery, learning what he must know to earn his wizard's staff. The trouble he had had in speaking spells wore off over the months, and the skill returned into his hands. Yet he was never so quick to learn as he had been, having learned a long, hard lesson from fear. Yet no ill portents or encounters followed on his working even of the great spells of making and shaping, which are most perilous. He came to wonder at times if the shadow he had loosed might have grown weak or fled somehow out of the world, for it came no more in his dreams. But in his heart he knew such hope was folly. From the masters and from ancient lore books, Jed learned what he could about such beings as this shadow he had loosed. Little was there to learn. No such creature was described or spoken of directly. There were at best hints here and there in the old books of things that might be like the shadow beast. It was not a ghost of human man, nor was it a creature of the old powers of earth, and yet it seemed it might have some link with these. In Matter of the Dragons, which Jed read very closely, there was a tale of an ancient dragon lord who had come under the sway of one of the old powers, a speaking stone that lay in a far northern land. At the stone's command, said the book, he did speak to raise up a dead spirit out of the realm of the dead. But his wizardry being bent awry by the stone's will, there came with the dead spirit also a thing not summoned, which did devour him out from within, and his shape walked, destroying men. End quote. But the book did not say what the thing was, nor did it tell the end of the tale, and the masters did not know where such a shadow might come from. From unlife, the archmage had said. From the wrong side of the world, said the master changer, and the master summoner said, I do not know. The summoner had come often to sit with Jed in his illness. He was grim and grave as ever, but Jed knew now his compassion and loved him well. I do not know. I know of the thing only this, that only a great power could have summoned up such a thing, and perhaps only one power, only one voice, your voice. But what in turn that means, I do not know. You will find out. You must find out, or die and worse than die. He spoke softly, and his eyes were somber as he looked at Jed. You thought, as a boy, that a mage is one who can do anything. So I thought, once. So did we all. And the truth is that as a man's real power grows and his knowledge widens, ever the way he can follow grows narrower, until at last he chooses nothing, but does only and wholly what he must do. The Archmage sent Jed, after his 18th birthday, to work with a master patterner. What is learned in the Imminent Grove is not much talked about elsewhere. It is said that no spells are worked there, and yet the place itself is an enchantment. Sometimes the trees of that grove are seen, and sometimes they are not seen, and they are not always in the same place and part of Rogue Island. It is said that the trees of the groves themselves are wise. It is said that the master patterner learns his supreme magery there within the grove, and if ever the trees should die, so shall his wisdom die, and in those days the waters will rise and drown the islands of Earthsea, which Segoy raised from the deeps in the time before myth. All the lands where men and dragons dwell. But all this is hearsay. Wizards will not speak of it. The months went by, and at last, on a day of spring, Jed returned to the great house, and he had no idea what would be asked of him next. At the door that gives on the path across the fields to Roke Knoll, an old man met him, waiting for him in the doorway. At first, Jed did not know him, and then, putting his mind to it, he recalled him as the one who had led him into the school on the day of his coming, 5 years ago. The old man smiled, greeting him by name, and asked, "Do you know who I am?" Now Jed had thought before of how it was always said, the 9 masters of Roke, although he knew only 8. Windkey, Hand, Herbal, Chanter, Changer, Summoner, Namer, Patterner. It seems that people spoke of the Archmage as the 9th. Yet when a new Archmage was chosen, 9 masters met to choose him. "I think you are the Master Doorkeeper," said Jed. "I am. Jed, you won entrance to Roke by saying your name. Now you may win your freedom of it by saying mine." So said the old man, smiling, and waited. Jed stood, dumb. He knew 1,000 ways and crafts and means for finding out names of things, of men, and of men. Of course, such craft was part of everything he had learned at Roke, for without it there could be little useful magic done. But to find out the name of a mage and master was another matter. A mage's name is better hidden than a herring in the sea, better guarded than a dragon's den. A prying charm will be met with a stronger charm. Subtle devices will fail. Devious inquiries will be deviously thwarted, and the force will be turned ruinously back upon itself. "You keep a narrow door, master," said Jed at last. "I must sit out in the fields here, I think, and fast till I grow thin enough to slip through." "As long as you like," said the doorkeeper, smiling. So Jed went off a little way and sat down under an alder on the banks of the Thwilburn, letting his otak run down to play in the stream and hunt the muddy banks for creek crabs. The sun went down, late and bright, for spring was well along. Lights of lantern and weirlight gleamed in the windows of the great house, and down the hill the streets of Thwil town filled with darkness. Owls hooted over the roofs, and bats flitted in the dusk air above the stream, and still Jed sat, thinking how he might, by force, ruse, or sorcery, learn the doorkeeper's name. The more he pondered, the less he saw. Among all the arts of witchcraft he had learned in these 5 years on Roke, any one that would serve to wrest such a secret from such a mage. Now we're going to end there. We have 1 page left of chapter 4, but I will save that for the next little installment tomorrow. I hope both my river and my peach are wrapped up tight, snug, in love each. Sleep well, good night, and I'll see you in my dreams.